Good morning. Happy Thursday. Let me just unmute my mic here. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday, August 28th. Let's go. End of summer edition here on our weekly live show. Thanks so much for joining on. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section. But today we have a very special topic. It's going to be the top 10 questions we usually get for 55 plus communities. So, as you know, this is a niche that we specialize in. We focus on people that want to downsize and make educated decisions doing so. And we focus on the advanced planning aspect of it. So it's not uncommon for people to reach out to us a year or two in advance and for us to talk to those people throughout the journey. It doesn't happen overnight. Kind of the inspiration behind my site was helping my father and mother-in-law move and kind of taking them through that journey. So I wanted to make kind of like a niche site, a niche community like this, where we can answer all these great questions that come across and help people make really feel educated and confident decisions making a move like this. Because no matter what, it's nothing to sneeze at. It's always a big lifestyle change for whatever age you're in, whatever season of life you're in. Moving is challenging work, and moving's a lot of work. So we want to make that transition as soon as possible for you. And we wanted to kind of put together the top 10 list of questions we get. Now, that being said, too, if you have a question that's not answered here, we'd love to hear it. We'd love to make a database. And pretty much what we're doing is we're compiling a lot of data of questions we get asked just to make sure, one, we're kind of like data junkies. We record everything we do. But it really just helps specializing on something and just becoming experts at it. And we kind of looked at all the data. We looked at all the questions we get, and we have a list of the top 10 questions that we usually get asked. So that being said, my name is Robert O'Keefe, creator of Over 55 NJ. If you want to jump online, if you want to search for some 55 plus homes, go to over55nj.homes. And if you have a specific question that you don't want to ask publicly, you can always ask us privately. We encourage that. Our email address is over55nj@gmail.com. And you can also send us a text message. Our company's Rock Real Estate. We're based in Monmouth County, New Jersey, and we cover all over New Jersey. If you have questions on a different 55 plus community, for instance, we're helping someone basically coordinate the sale of their home in Staten Island and move to Hallandale, Florida. We have a great network of agents. One of my best friends lives down there that we can set you up with. So doesn't really have to be in New Jersey. If you're thinking about a 55 plus community, if you're thinking about a single family, if you're thinking about even a condo or a rental, feel free to reach out and we can help educate you on your options. No pressure, no obligation. Now, without further ado, let's get into the top 10 questions we get. And like I said, if you have other questions, feel free to drop them here. The first question is, what exactly is a 55 plus community and how is it different? So 55 plus community is a little bit of a history lesson. They started percolating after World War II. That's when like was the glory age of America, right? Defeating the Germans, coming back home. A lot of people's incomes were growing, baby boomers, kids playing outside. It was a great time, pretty much one of the golden ages of our country, victorious, if you will. And a lot of times people's standard of living, expectancy started going up. People started to enjoy longer lives, better health, better food, lots of great stuff. And these communities just kind of evolved over time where they needed a solution for people to retire into. People could afford it. They put their kids out of the house, much like they did today. And these communities just started popping up after World War II. Now, the first one in New Jersey was Leisure Village in Lakewood. The second one was Rossmore, and these were built in the 1960s. So a little bit after World War II. The first community, 55 plus community, was actually built in Arizona, believe it or not. But New Jersey started building them, and a lot are built around Monmouth and Ocean counties. Back then, the area wasn't as developed then, and the schools weren't as good back then. So a lot of these people, a lot of these developers got the approvals and started building up these massive communities. Some of them have over 1,000 homes in them, believe it or not. So community, like the way to think of it, is an individual association, and pretty much the association has an HOA presiding over it, different guidelines and rules. And they're protected. So they're protected in the sense where you have to be 55 plus to live in one, to buy or rent in one. And they just have their own rules, and it's their own like kind of sub style of real estate. So if you wanted to simplify it, you could just look at it as a community, and pretty much you have to be 55 plus to live in it. and you're kind of with like-minded people, like-minded retirees, and they tend to be a lot cheaper than the average unit elsewhere. The average single-family house, obviously, not just because of the size, but also because you have to be 55 to live in one. So supply and demand, prices go down. They tend to be a lot more affordable. Taxes are a lot lower, and a great place to downsize into and enjoy life. Um, so that kind of is the gist of question one. Let's go into question two. What types of 55 plus communities exist in New Jersey? So there's ones where you own your home. There's the CCRCs, those are the continuing care. And then there's also like assisted living facilities. So a lot of people get them confused. They're not assisted living facilities. The ones we specialize in are for active adults that want to, you don't have to be necessarily active, I should say. You just have to be, you basically own your own individual unit within that community. So it's kind of like if you're buying a single family house or a condo, but under the guidance and kind of like oversight of an HOA within this community. So you own your own property. You have a lot of freedom and flexibility with that. You have to go under the HOA guidelines. That will come later on in the question. We get asked about HOAs a lot. And it's really just for you. You own your individual unit. It's not an assisted living, meaning you're not going to have someone like a nurse there taking care of you. That's more for an assisted living. If you're at that stage, we have a lot of great connections where we can set you up with someone, which we did. We helped someone basically sell their home and move into kind of like an assisted living facility. But they're not really that. They're mostly condos and single family homes that you own individually, just like you would own your regular home. So, common misconception like that. And another common misconception is, what can they do for me? They don't really. We had this. Someone asked this question, like, what if my HVA system breaks, or what if I need a new roof? They're not really going to help you fix that. You're basically going to have to take care of your own home. So essentially, you own that own home within a community, and you're responsible for whatever's in your own walls, and also out of your walls. For instance, the roof, the windows, things of that nature. And it's yours, So with that comes the pros of it being your home, and you taking care of everything and you controlling your own destiny from that standpoint. Question three. This is a big one. How much does it cost to live in one? So there's mostly two fees: the property taxes and the HOA fees. So we get a lot of questions about HOA fees. Those will come into play later on as we go through the presentation. But taxes tend to be generally lower than the average single family house for the obvious reasons. They're just zoned differently. So it's not uncommon for a lot of customers to cut their property tax by 2/3, sometimes mostly a half is what we see on average. So you'll be amazed how much your tax savings grow and how much you save in your tax savings. Now, while we're on that subject, we have a guide for the PAS1 application to cut your property taxes further in half and also to freeze your taxes. So if you want a copy of that, just write copy and we can go through that with you and just make sure you're applying for that. The deadline to apply for that is October 31st. So the cost is the property taxes and the HOA. Now, a lot of people ask us, what does the HOA cover, which we'll get to in a later question. But that basically goes into covering and running what's in the community. And then there's also your homeowner's insurance. So some people elect not to pay that. In our opinion, it's a mistake. Just get a low-cost property tax insurance policy, and it's just a great thing to have. So really, the three fees are the HOA, the taxes, and your insurance. And then there's also usually a welcome to the neighborhood fee, also called an initiation fee, to join the community. Usually, we see that around $1,000 to $3,000. Really depends on the community. That's just another way for the association to make income when you join in order to keep the HOA fees lower. So whenever someone joins the community, there's usually an initiation charge, but it's not too substantial. I actually had to pay one for my condo when I bought my condo a long time ago. And actually my other condo that I recently owned there's always kind of like a fee to join into the association. And it's just a way for these associations to generate revenue. So that's another common question we get. My favorite question, can my pet come? So many 55 plus communities will welcome pets. Every HOA is different and has different rules. Some of them have size restriction. But as a dog lover myself, got to make sure my dog is coming. we recently helped someone that had quite a big dog. This dog was probably 60 pounds. She was actually moving to an assisted living facility. So we had a great contact, Bridget from Senior Care Advisors, basically help facilitate that whole move and made sure that facility would take the dog. So one of the most common questions we get is, "Can I have a dog?" We actually got a question this week: "Is I have two dogs? Can these dogs come?" I had someone reach out that had three cats, believe it or not. So very common just to get this question. And the way we recommend it is during our consultation, we ask you all sorts of questions of what's important to you: the location, the amenities, the bedroom count, whether you want a single family, whether you want a garage. And it could be anything that's really important to you. If you have like a sewing club, I had someone reach out to me today that wanted a pool in the community. And we kind of reverse engineer that based on the best choices. And then we make sure that they take everything. You'll be surprised how many people get to the end. They realize, like, oh, my pet can't come or this can't happen. So we don't want to make that's really the value of advanced planning. We want to make sure that we're well prepared ahead of time for everything. So we kind of reverse engineer it, long story short, based on your criteria, priorities, and location. And then we make sure that we have an HOA that will accept your pet without any issues. But overall, to answer the question succinctly, many communities encourage dog ownership. A lot of people are educated about the value of pets, especially dogs, really cats, any pet. Um, and a lot of times dogs are acceptable in these communities and they want them to come. So it really just depends on, what kind of pet you have and also your location parameters. We have actually a list of pet friendly communities on our website over 55nj.homes. So you can definitely check that out. And if you want us to send you the direct link to that, just feel free to write pet in the comments or send us a direct message. Another fun question: what amenities should I look for? Really depends on what you're looking for. Personally, I like being in the pool. I'm a swimmer. I like to swim laps, so that would be a big one for me. But a lot of people like social clubs, walking trails. I would just basically reverse engineer this based on what you like and what you like to do. And that goes through the process of our initial consultation, planning ahead, and just narrowing down the best communities. Yesterday, I spoke to a gentleman that loved playing golf, and we're bringing up all the best communities with golf courses for him. So it's really what you're into and your preferences. Any questions in the chat, feel free to drop them. All right, one of the loaded question, I should say: what's included in the HOA fee and what's not? So every community is run differently. Think of every HOA like a small business. I was having a great conversation with someone about this today, where she said, "Oh, the HOA fees are getting kind of high. I heard these go up every year." It's a very, very common concern. So understand that the goal of an HOA is to keep the fees lower. A lot of HOA members, well, most of them just live in the community. So it'd be like raising taxes on yourself. And just think of every community as a small business. They don't want to raise these fees, they want to keep them as low as possible for the residents. So every HOA and every small business needs revenue, and the HOA is what pumps revenue into these communities. So people are not used to paying HOA fees. People that never lived in condos before kind of get a little iffy about them. But I assure you, they're a lot more affordable than what you would think, especially compared to what you would be paying ordinarily outside a community for a single family home with taxes, for a bigger house, things of that nature. So one of the recommendations we say is to kind of look at the cost holistically, look at the taxes you'll be saving, look at the amount you'll be saving, and then make sure that the community is financially sound and stable. So one of the most important aspects of what we do is we make sure our customers are buying into strong, solid communities with strong financials. What we said in the beginning of this segment was every HOA is a small business. So we want to make sure we're buying into a strong community, because really at the end of the day, it's an investment, right? So you want to make sure that these financials are stable. You want to make sure your financials are sound, that they have good reserves, good income, that they're not losing money, that there's a surplus of revenue. And what we do is before we even get started, we make sure that we're looking at communities with strong financials, no litigation on them, no drama, and pretty much minimize that risk as much as possible. So That kind of mitigates the risk of your HOAs going up. That's probably the biggest fear and the biggest question we get is, will my HOA skyrocket later on in the future? Generally, they tend to go up a bit with inflation, just like everything does, to keep pace with the cost of inflation, which naturally goes up year over year. So, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're buying to the financially sound communities, and we'll keeping the HOA fees as low as possible. Homeowners associations don't want to raise HOA fees. That's the elephant in the room. One is they raise costs on themselves, and two, their units aren't worth as much if the HOA fee keeps going up and up and up and up. Nobody likes to pay HOA fees. Nobody wants to pay high HOA fees. It's just a necessary way to make money. Kind of like the welcome to the neighborhood fee that we talked about. That's a way for the community to make money to minimize HOA fees. And the HOA fees will cover a lot. They'll cover the snow removal. A lot of the communities shovel the snow all the way up to your door, so you never have to. They cover the cost of the community. It's just the way it is and the way of life within these communities. And pretty much with every condo I've owned, I've had to pay an HOA fee that goes into this business. So the key takeaway here is to look at the HOA fees holistically, look at your overall costs, look at how much you'll be saving overall, and it becomes much more of kind of a way to stomach it, if you will. So great question that we get. It's one of my favorite questions. And that being said, if you feel if an HOA fee is not for you, we help people buy their own single family homes all the time. I have a customer like that wants to downsize but wants a smaller single family home. So it's not for everybody. Understand that you will pay a higher tax that way, more than likely, and understand that you'll have to do a lot of the work yourself. But we have something for everybody and we have solutions for everybody. And this is all about the customer and their individual needs. That's what makes this business so exciting and why I love it so much. So, hope that covers HOA fees. If you have any questions on that, just feel free to reach out. We actually have a low cost HOA fees on our site where you can actually cap which HOA fee you want to pay. So, for example, we're working with a woman who wants to pay below $300 a month in HOA fees. She actually has a search set up on our site which caps that fee. So, there's a lot of great resources on our site, and we recommend going to our site and kind of making the search your own. Now, here's another one. Can family and grandchildren visit or stay overnight? So many communities will allow guests, but they'll kind of restrict the length of the stay. So Monroe Township, for example, has an ordinance which prevents adult children under a certain age, I believe it's 48, from staying in the home as a full-time resident. So it really depends on the HOA and the community. A lot of communities, I read a great article on this the other day. Basically, it's called Navigating the 55 plus and the over 55 plus nays. And every community will have different rules where some adult children or family could just stay there indefinitely. Some will not allow that. Very hard to enforce, by the way, if someone's like staying there 2 nights. A lot of people just don't want to enforce this, to be kind of clear. A lot of people are very lenient here, and there's not like the HOA police as someone. Well, there is in some communities, but there's not the HOA police like coming after you all the time. So it's kind of like how should I say this? A lot of communities that we see are just very like lenient towards this. A lot of communities. We had another customer that wants to bring her son who's in her 20s to live with her. And we found the majority of the communities allow that. So they want family to visit. They want grandchildren to visit. A lot of these HOA board members have family members themselves. So they want the rules to make sense for everybody and to be reasonable for everybody. And as we know, family is everything. Question number 8, coming to the end here. How do we know if a community is financially stable? So this ties into the other HOA question. We review the reserves. The reserves is the money in the bank, simply put, that the HOA will have. And we also want to see a healthy reserve contribution, meaning you better be putting money every month into the reserve and just not letting go on that. Warren Buffett has a great quote that when the tide goes out, you can see who's skinny dipping. So the ones in the communities, the HOA associations that are skinny dipping are the ones that are not taking care of the reserves. So even with properties that we own, we put money into reserves every month and just to keep building that fund. So if there is a certain situation, like let's say if the clubhouse needs a new roof, let's say if something drastic happens. I remember in the condo building that we used to stay in, a new roof had to be put in place. So we used a portion of our reserve budget and then just did an assessment on the other portion of the fee. So you want to make sure that the HOA has strong reserves, a strong balance sheet, that they're not losing money, that they're well buttoned up. A lot of times people will help us. We'll come to people. We'll be considering different communities, and we want to make sure that everything is taken care of. And we can help you analyze this and review this. We have a firsthand knowledge of a lot of the budgets too, just to eliminate communities that just are not financially well run. So we will. Long story short is you want a strong budget, you want a strong reserve budget, and just always lean on us for your guidance too on this. And believe me, we always review the budget and the reserves before we close, and even ahead of time. As soon as we get our hands on that, and with our first-hand knowledge, we definitely invite you to reach out on that. Question 9: What should I consider? What should I consider when selling my current home? A lot depends on timing, and the biggest mistake is just to let this go until the very end. A lot of times we speak to people who are still working, and we can still use that income in various loan products to take them out of what's called a contingency sale. A contingency sale is when someone has to sell in order to buy something for the proceeds. So, very key to get in touch with us as soon as possible so we can start putting the whole plan together for you and just make sure it works. A lot of times we'll see something in the house and we'll kind of give you a checklist of what to do. So we invite you to reach out to us on that. We could do it virtually. I could stop by the house and we can basically just cater the solution to your needs. And like I said, not wasting your time, not wasting our time. It's very beneficial just to start getting ahead of this and start planning in advance. So that'd be the first thing I would say. And the second thing is just consider doing little by little. Decluttering is the biggest thing. Start doing a little at a time. Set a monthly goal for this room, that room, and that room. So those are some things to start getting ahead of time. But the first part of the search and the exciting part is starting the search online on our site, over55nj.homes, and you can really start to see and get a feel for what's out there. And finally, question 10: How do I pick the right community for my lifestyle and budget? So I would first reverse engineer by location. Just go by the best location you like. I was speaking to someone today that wanted to be in Union County by her grandchildren. So location is great for that, and that just makes the whole process a lot easier if you can just eliminate everywhere else in the state from there. And then just go by, you might consider price range. I had someone the other day that needed at least a 2-car garage, and believe me, believe it or not, they do exist in 55 plus communities. And so go by location first, and then go by what's important to you, and then look at price. And we can help you kind of like benchmark your price if you're a little not sure of how much you want to spend or how little you have to spend. So, and then from there, I would just look at your lifestyle considerations, whether you want a pool, clubs, or things of that nature. So it really depends on you, and everybody's a little bit different from that standpoint. And that's why we encourage you to reach out, get in touch, and you can always schedule a call with us at over55nj.chat, and you can set up a time to speak with us. No hassles and no obligation. Or just send us a direct message, whatever's good for you. Now we'll just go into a quick segment here called the common pitfalls and pro tips. Pitfall 1 is rushing into a purchase, ignoring future health risks, and then skipping the HOA risk. So what we do is we always review the HOA financials beforehand. We have a consultation, and we walk with you every step of the way. Just don't rush into the purchase. Even if you don't feel you're ready to go, just feel free to reach out and we can start talking about this in advance. So with that being said, let's go into the questions and answers. This whole presentation was a series of questions and answers, but we do take the questions from the public here. And maybe we'll come up with another video, top 10 more questions. Will my property taxes go down if I move into a 55 plus community? Not automatically. It really depends on what you're paying in taxes now. Taxes really depend on the community you're buying into. That being said, that's a good plug for New Jersey's PAS1 application, which cuts your property taxes in half up to $6,500. I was speaking to a homeowner the other day who didn't realize this at all. So I'm sending her all the information so she can cut her property taxes in half. And we were joking, Christmas came early. But something you have to apply for. We have the guide on how to apply for this in the easiest way. There's a few things you have to get together beforehand, and we have the whole checklist for you just to minimize the time. So generally speaking, your costs and property taxes will go down moving into a community like this. And this goes into the theme of just looking at the finances holistically. And it's pretty unbelievable how much money you can save just by downsizing. Question 2, can I rent out my home if I buy into a 55 plus community? Many do allow rentals. Some have restrictions. There's one particular community I'm thinking of that has a rental restriction with the amount of rentals that can be rented at a general time. I think my old condo building that I used to have and had a restriction like this too. And the reason this is some of these communities have these restrictions where they don't want the whole community just being rentals. Renters generally don't take care of the property as well as a homeowner does. That's just like natural across the board for any real estate asset. So you always take care of your own stuff better. So some of them have caps on renters. Some of them, like my old building too, will charge an additional fee if you rent your building out. It really depends on the HOA, but most of them are set up as a single family or a condo, and you can generally rent those. And also, like in a landmark ruling a year or two ago, you don't have to be 55 to buy in one of these communities. So someone like myself or another person that's under 55 can buy a unit like this and rent it out to a person who is 55. So a lot of good stuff going on, a lot of interesting stuff. I love investment real estate. What's the difference between a condo, co-op, and single family home in 55 plus communities? Very common question again. So a condo is the way to look at it is if you're differentiating between condos and co-ops, most 55 plus communities are condos, meaning you own everything inside your walls. With a co-op, you buy shares of ownership in a community. So co-ops tend to have just more extensive rules. They're mostly common in the city for people moving from Staten Island, from New York City. There's a ton of co-ops there because condos are very, very expensive in New York City, Manhattan in particular. So condos are much more prevalent in New Jersey. There's not a lot of co-op buildings. So generally speaking, you probably just won't even run into this situation. But we do recommend buying condos because they're a little more expensive, but you have a lot more control of who to sell, who you can sell it to, who you rent it to. Co-ops have board approval many times of who you're going to rent the unit to, and they have very extensive rules. We do like co-ops as well, but I would prefer a condo personally. But there's some people that do like co-ops, and I don't want to discourage them. And then there's also the single family homes. So that's a single family home within an association, a standalone home, which pretty much stands alone and has kind of the same rules as a condo does. Now, last question. Are there any risks with buying new construction in a 55 plus community? So the risk is like you're kind of like the pioneer, kind of like Lewis and Clark. So they may face incomplete amenities, construction defects, or something of that nature, or the HOA wasn't set up properly. So there's always the risk of doing that, and then also buying just kind of on a leap of faith. But in today's day and age, a lot of these communities are built well. A lot of the construction is systematized. So there's always a great degree of risk whenever you buy real estate. But there's the risk from that standpoint of delays, of you know, kind of not having the unit the way you pictured it. Some cases, on customers we work with, like buying something tangible that they can see, they can walk into and touch. But there's always a little bit of risk when it comes to buying real estate, when it comes to buying anything. And that's why we encourage you to get in touch, and we can just answer all your questions ahead of time and kind of pick the right path that works for you. So want to say thanks again for coming on today. This is always a lot of fun for us. We really appreciate all the questions, and keep the questions coming. We're just going to keep focusing on this niche and just getting smarter and smarter, answering all your questions and just compiling more data. It's really a blessing to focus on this, and we really like hearing from you, answering your questions, and meeting you and getting to know you. If you have any questions or if you just want to reach out and start discussing plans, feel free to reach out to us. You can send us a direct message. Our email address is over55nj@gmail.com, and you can just reach out to us anytime. So we'll see you on the next one. Make it a great day. If you have any ideas or topics for the next one, community feature you want us to do, or a certain question, feel free to reach out to us, and we can't wait to present it for you. So make it a great day. Happy end of summer. We'll see you in the fall.